Welcome to Figure Feedback. My name is Jeremy, and today is the day for the big reveal of the small printer big print series starring Iceman. If you want to catch up on the previous two videos that led up to this point, check out the links in the description. I will leave them there. And also in this video, I'm going to show you the final piece of the puzzle, which is the main base, and some additional things that I did to the main piece just to make it a little bit more attractive. All right, so I do want to thank once again Ace Additive for providing me with all the resin that I needed in order to pull this off. And I'm going to tell you about my experience using that resin during the reveal as well. So with that being said, check out these additional clips and then meet me back here for the full reveal. So before I show you the main base, I just wanted to show you the ice ramp that I've glued together. So that is all good and ready to go. Still have to glue together this ice base. I'm a little bit intimidated, you know, I just really want it to all line up and everything be good. And then here's Iceman right here, and there's the power effect that goes with his right hand. And now here is the main base, the gray base. So that's 3 pieces right there, and then here are the remaining 2 pieces. So this is it. Everything here, these are all of the pieces for this Iceman sculpture. And now it's just a matter of assembling everything together and putting the gloss spray paint on it. So I'm going to get to work. I'm going to glue together this base here, and then I'm going to see how well this can fit down into here. And if all goes well, I'll put everything else together. Here I'm doing some light airbrushing on this main base. I didn't think that you'll really see the base all that much, but I just wanted to give it a bit of a cold look to it. So what I did was I mixed a couple of different colors of blue and then just sort of topped it off with a bit of white. And the icing on the cake for this whole thing is definitely that clear gloss spray paint. So I made sure I got myself some good coverage all the way around, and I did about 2 coats of this clear gloss spray paint for the final reveal. After many hours of printing, the Iceman sculpture is finally complete. And let me tell you, once you get all of those smaller pieces and you put them together and then everything just sort of works out, it really makes all the time that it took to put this together worth it. And I really do think that adding that spray gloss at the end really just gave it that extra pop so that it looks nice from a distance, you know, kind of nice and shiny and glistening, if that's even a word. And I am just really happy with how this guy turned out. And it kind of just goes to show you that even though it's preferable to have a larger resin 3D printer in order to produce things like this in far fewer prints than I did, I think I might have done, it had to be over 25 individual builds just to put all of this together. But it is possible with the right amount of files. If the creator has cut up the pieces enough so that you can print most things on a small build plate, you can do this too. Now let me talk a little bit about the resin that I used. So for most of this, I used the Ace Additive clear blue resin. And here's the thing I really do like about this resin. When you're printing things that are hollow or thinner, for example, these 2 parts of this ice wave, these 2 parts are hollow, but these 2 back pieces here are solid, and the rest is solid as well. The solid and more dense structures tend to have a darker blue appearance to them, but then the more hollow and thin structures bring on a lighter blue appearance. And when you have someone like Iceman here, you can see the variation of the color inside of him. So yeah, his torso is mostly a deep blue, but then when you get to the head and the thinner parts, it goes into that lighter blue. You can see the sort of different shades of light to dark along the leg and in the thighs and down by the foot. And then also here in his special effects piece, how the ends of them, the tips, they're frosted. You know, they look almost like there's a little bit of white added to it, but there's nothing added to it. This is just the resin. It's just depending on the density of the part that you're printing, it's going to give you those different shades of blue. And I think that is really, really awesome. And then you can also see that with the frosted tips of Iceman's hair as well, and as well as his ears, and how those are also like the lighter shade of blue. So that is really great, and that's what I really like about this resin. Just gives you some nice variations. The other thing that I really liked about using this resin is it's really easy to work with, and I didn't have a single failed print out of all of the different pieces that I printed. And I think this was around maybe about 30-ish pieces of everything put together, and everything came out just fine. No failures at all. And you know that I tend to not want to change my settings too much when I'm working with different resins, because I think fiddling it a little bit too much tends to mess everything up. But I knew I probably had to do something different for this clear resin. So what I did was I looked up what Anycubic recommended for their clear resin, and they had a normal layer exposure time of 4 seconds. So that's what I decided to go with, and everything worked out fine. All my other settings were exactly the same. All I did was change my normal layer exposure to 4 seconds, and everything came out great. And this resin has just been a breeze to work with. And then as far as the odor goes, it's low. You know, I know a lot of brands say that they have low odor, but this is truly low odor. I can still smell it, but it wasn't heavy. It didn't linger. It was really pleasant to work around as far as resin is concerned. But if you are planning on making a build out of so many different pieces like I did with this here, one of the things that you definitely have to prepare for and look out for are fitting the pieces together. Because as nice as this guy looks just at a glance, you're walking by him, he looks great, there are some pieces in here that went together nicely in some areas, but there's gaps in other areas. If you look really, really close, you'll be able to identify those gaps. And that's just one of the things that you kind of have to deal with from time to time when it comes to trying to put different pieces together that are printed individually out of resin. There's ways around it. You can try sanding it to make it fit a little bit better, or you can go back in with some type of filler to fill in those gaps and then sand that down and then paint over it, you know, something like that. So those things are very common and they can be fixed. But when you have so many different parts, you're just going to increase the chances of some things not coming together as smooth and as flush as you would like for them to be. But for the most part, everything still worked out. I'm still really, really happy about this. I think that this is such a cool sculpt. I love this sentinel hand coming out from the back. These ice shards right here on the ice base, man, these things are really great, and they're sharp too. These are some sharp resin spikes. So if you plan to do this, be a little bit careful, because you can puncture your finger on this. I have not done that, but it is very possible because these are very sharp. And I really do like how that resin just sort of brought out that lighter blue color there on the tips while keeping the darker blue color down by the base of these ice spikes. It is really, really, truly fitting. And speaking of truly fitting, Iceman fits really good on here as well. He is not glued down. I just have his foot peg down into this hole, and it's so deep in there, it provides a lot of good stability. So I don't have to glue him down. So whenever I do plan on moving this somewhere, I can easily just take him off the base and kind of keep him protected, while the rest of the base will be able to go by itself. And actually, I didn't even glue the ice base to the main base. I just kind of have it down in there, and it's solid enough that it doesn't need to be glued together. So that also makes the transportation process a little bit easier if I wanted to break it down. And then as for his ice effect here, this also just kind of goes over his hand. It's not glued down. It does not need to be. It just really comfortably rests right there, and it works, you know, and everything is great. But yeah, you guys, all in all, this has been a really fun experience building and printing this Iceman. And even though it took a lot of gloves and it took a lot of time to do, in the end, it was totally worth it. And it's really, truly awesome. I really do encourage you, if you have a smaller resin 3D printer, to try to build something larger just so you can experience and see what it's like. And if you are planning on doing something like that, then also be prepared to use at least a couple of full bottles of resin, 1 kilogram bottles of resin, especially if you're planning on printing something that's mostly solid like this, because you are going to need around that much resin. And if you are interested in this resin that I use, which I highly recommend, I've gone through a lot of it, and like I said, the experience has been good. Check out the link in the description to Ace Addity's website. It's going to take you there so that you can see the different types of resin that they offer, which includes this clear blue resin, but they also have different colors of clear resin as well. So maybe you can make some Hulk type stuff because they got a clear green one too. So yeah, that'll be pretty interesting to try out. So anyway, you guys, I want to thank you so much for checking out this small printer big print series starring Iceman here. It's been fun to go through this process and document it all for you so that you can see what the entire process was like. And let's do it again sometime in the future. So until then, take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you soon.